So here we have 2,000 points worth of Blood Angels. It's 3 detachments, a battalion, a vanguard and a spearhead detachment, or in normal terms, the one with 3 troops and 2 HQ, compulsory, and then the one with 3 elites and an HQ, and the one with 3 heavy and an HQ. So, for my normal battalion, the HQ is a captain with jump pack and thunderhammer and a librarian dreadnought. I then have 3 units of 5 tactical marines, 2 of which have plasma weapons and 1 of which is bare bones. As a fast attack slot, I have 5 assault marines with jump packs and chainswords, and I've also got 2 rhinos in that detachment. Then moving on to the vanguard detachment, it's very simply 5 terminators, 1 of which has a lightning claws, but the rest have thunder hammers. That's just to trim a few points. A chaplain, Terminator armour, and 2 company veteran squads. Both the sergeants have power swords, and the normal guys are just normal guys, bolt pistols, chainsword. Attached to that we have 2 heavy support choices, which are 2 bars, both with double heavy bolter, double assault cannon, no storm bolter or anything like that, just have to trim the points for this amount. And then finally my heavy support attachment is a 30k tech marine, 10,000 years old, he knows how to fix his tanks, and then 3 predators, all with lightning claws, last cannons and double heavy bolter. So that's 2,000 points of Blood Angels. A bit of a distillation from the brigade, taking a bit more flexibility. The sacrifice for a few command points, but still, more command points than I would normally have. So hopefully this will do the trick to get rid of the foul heretic guard.
Mordian Iron Guard. We're just running a brigade today, keep it nice and simple, we want lots of command points. So starting off on the left we have 2 company commanders. This one has a bolt pistol and this one has a plasma pistol and a power sword. 2 Lord Commissars, both with bolter and power fist. And then we also have a tech priest with the axe and servo arm, and we have a platoon commander with a chainsword and bolter. Infantry section, we've got loads of infantry squads. We've got 4 with flamer and autocannon, 3 with plasma and autocannon, and 3 with grenade launcher and heavy bolter. Heavy support, we have 2 Lehman Russ battle tanks with battle cannon, las cannon and 2 heavy bolters. 2 more Lehman Russ tanks with Punisher cannons and triple heavy bolter each, and this does have the heavy stubber, we have paid for it. And then we have the fast attack section. We have 3 scout sentinels with heavy flamers, and I have paid for the sentinel chainsword. 2 command squads with 3 snipers and regimental standard. And finally we have the Helldivers, a unit of veterans with 3 plasma guns, and the sergeant has a plasma pistol and chainsword. They are in a Valkyrie which has 2 multiple rocket pods, 2 heavy bolters and a multi-laser, and jumping in with them is their platoon commander who has a bolter and chainsword. So that's it. That is the 2,000 point brigade of Mordian Iron Guard. That's it.
For Warlords, the Blood Angels have the Black Rage command point ability, stratagem. That gives him an extra attack in the charge, and then he's gone for Gift of Foresight, which gives him a 5-up feel no pain if he is Black Rage. And then the guards are just harvesting loads of command points, and
we've got Kurov's Aquila, which lets me steal your command points on a 5+, and we've got Strategic Genius, which lets me get my own command points back on a 5+.
Nightmare. And then the Librarian Dreadnought's going for the first 2 powers, so that he gets extra attacks and reroll charge range and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, actually no, I'll take the first one and then the last one, Wings of Sanguinius, so he can fly around.
Yeah, okay.
So here we have the field of battle after deployment, looking at the Blood Angels first. We've got a Librarian Dreadnought on the right flank. We've got a Rhino that has 2 company vet squads and 1 tac squad with a plasma. The kill squad, the hunter squad of Baals in the centre in that cover. Then we have another Rhino with 2 tac squads in, one's got plasma, and the tech marine with the 3 predators on the right flank. Moving over to the guard, we have the Valkyrie on the right flank, then one of the Punishers, Then 1, 2, 3 squads of guard with a commissar, another Punisher, and a Tech Marine. And we've got 3 squads of guard in the centre with a... I don't know who that guy is.
That's my Warlord and the Lord Commissar.
Warlord and the Lord Commissar there. We've got the 3 Sentinels in the centre. And we've got loads more, 3, 4...
4 squads of guard.
4 squads of guard. And the 2 Lehman Russes. And then some snipers hidden down here. And where are the snipers?
They're just here.
Hidden over here. Right, so that's 2,000 points. Now, we're playing big guns never tie. I have 5 heavy support to Tim's 4. So slight disadvantage. And then if you look at the objectives, the way they fall, and Tim got to pick deployment zone, there's an objective here in his lines, an objective here in his lines, then 2 in the centre, and none on that side, on my side. So the Blood Angels, they're going to have to push forward, see what they can do. Right, so rolling off.
You get a 1, you get a 2.
Okay, do you want to try and steal?
Yep. Commissar face.
So an effective turn 1 for guard there, pretty good. These guys pushed forward and moved around the wall, looking to probably stun those bars next turn. Then everything unleashed, absolutely everything, on my Predators over here. And one of the Predators was destroyed, but it came down to the last wound. And then finally, this Punisher fired at this guy and did 2 wounds. And 1 last cannon from the Demolished over there, because he fired his last cannon separately at the bars. He got it through, but he'd already used his command point and he got a 1, so that was 1 wound on the bar, which was lucky. So, first blood to the guard. It's an uphill battle because he's got first blood and all the objectives. So we're going to have to fight really hard for this, but we'll do our absolute best. Let's get stuck in. Blood Angels turn 1. So Blood Angels turn 1, in some ways frustrating, but in some ways, you know, excellent. So nice little tactical manoeuvre here. Push my Rhino up to twist him sideways on top of that objective. Then moved my Dreadnought up. Librarian Dreadnought, winged him up to there, and then did a 2-inch charge, blew up the Sentinel easily, and he's obviously, because the character, he's only really at threat from those snipers. And charged the Rhino in first, so he took 3 wounds from Heavy Flame. Glad I did that. So then, moving over to shooting elsewhere, the Bals started off, my idea was to sort of spray all my heavy bolters into that squad and kill off a squad of guardsmen, but I only killed 1 with my first spray of heavy bolters. And so it did relatively well on these Sentinels, so I thought, oh, I'll keep spraying. But then the bottom just fell out of my dice, and it took basically all my shooting from all my heavy bolters on these guys, and all my assault cannons and all my heavy bolters just to kill 1. Put 1 down to, well, take 1 wound off another, so that was terrible. But then my last cannons picked it up, and the 4 last cannons managed to do 10, was it 10 wounds? 10 wounds, so not quite enough, which is frustrating, but you know.
He's hit on 6s.
He's hitting on 6s. Then my captain dropped in here to give those guys rerolls, and he just jumped forward, hit that guy, took off 12 wounds. I was like, yes, he's dead, but apparently Valkyries have 14 wounds, which, God, it just makes me feel sick. Every time I play Guard, they are just disgusting. They are so cheap and so good. It's insane. Anyway, let's see what the Guard do in their turn 2. So for the Guard turn 2, pretty effective. Just carrying on, plodding along, grinding me down. So the 2 Lehman Russes, 1 popped the Rhino that was there on that objective, and 1 popped the Rhino that was over here. And I'd moved my Rhino up, obviously, to block him from shooting my captain, and then that sort of, at least, silver lining, when I powered my guys out, he just absolutely, even though he'd moved his Punisher forward a bit, definitely couldn't shoot my captain, so my captain stayed alive, so that plan worked out. And same for, this assault beast over here, he's still protected by these guys, because the Guard opened up, but, although he got lucky with his tanks, got unlucky with his infantrymen, only managed to kill 1 of each of the company veterans. He thought, oh, I'll split my 30-man squad, wipe both out, but, dice always balance out in the end, so can't complain. Lost a couple of guys from the plasma squad over here, from, various fire. Lost 4 wounds from that Bal there, and his Sentinel charged in, and I got loads of hits. with my Overwatch, and I thought, oh my god, he's actually going to spray him down on the charge, but then Tim got all his saves and it balanced out once again, damn it. So that Bile is locked in, but that Sentinel is obviously going to die. So I've got a couple of tricks up my sleeve. Yeah, it's looking shaky for the Blood Angels even at this early stage, but I think I've got a plan to pull it back, so let's see what we can do. Right, so the Blood Angels attempted an assault across the board, and the majority of it came off, but there's been a surprising turn of events at the end of the game, end of the turn. So first of all, these last cannons moved up here so they could start duelling with the Lehman Russes over there, and despite there only being 2 of them, they managed to put 11 wounds on this guy, and I thought, right, okay, he's 1 wound away from dying, easy prey for a quick burst from the Bile Predators. Anyway, 5 minutes and 30 odd dice later, and he was still on 1 wound, and those guys had shot nothing. So that was a bit of a turn of events, very hot and cold. Bit more shooting all around. I overcharged my plasma against this guy, got nothing through. He saved the wound, and my guy died. However, this guy overcharged his plasma and helped contribute. He has actually put 2 wounds on that guy. The Predators only put 9 wounds on. This Dreadnought, because he had Wings of Sanguinius still, because it's till the next Psychic phase, he flew up to here, cast it again himself, also gave himself D3 extra attacks and charged and moved up to here. So he had like a 1-inch charge, 2-inch charge, charged in, absolutely fucked it, and only got 3 wounds through, but what can you do? In other news, the Baron, Red Baron, wrecked the tank that he went for. He moved up to here, charged into the Punisher, blew it up, consolidated over there, so he's sort of taken on the left flank. These guys sprayed a bit and put this guy onto his final wound. And then my company veteran squads both charged 1 man each to pick off the sniper teams. 1 guy got in there, killed off 2, was it?
Killed off 1,
killed
and this
off
guy
1.
killed 3 and the other 1 ran away.
Yeah, and this guy killed 3 and then the other ran away. And that's that. So the company veterans, as usual, doing stellar work. They are absolutely excellent. The the Terminators dropped in. Nice 9 inches. You know, Tim very rarely, and I mean never, makes the mistake of leaving any part of his deployment zone open for a deep strike. It just never happens. But, you know, just because of the lengthways of the board and where the terrain was and that kind of thing, there was this little gap here. Fit my Terminators in, spend the command points for a 3d6 charge, got a 1, a 1 and a 4 or 5, thought, right, it's fine, command point it, re-roll it, got another 1. So they just, despite me saying in my advice video that if you're getting 9 inches away with a unit of Assault Terminators, you will get that 3d6 charge off, and I made just the point, I said, it's just going to happen, just will happen, you don't have to worry about it. If you get 9 inches away, you'll get that off.
It's because you said it.
Because I've said it in the advice video, of course, the first battle report where I tried to show it off, they don't, even with a command point reroll. So, I mean, I'm really sorry, guys, I'm trying to do my best here, but, like, you know, we'll just have to see. It seems like the dice gods are trying to scorn me, or, you know, I don't know. But we'll see. It's still lots to play for. We can still win this, he says. So Tim started off his 3rd turn by dropping the Helldivers, his veterans, with all the plasma, down next to my back lines. He pulled his tank back and prepared his men to shoot with orders across the board of 1st rank fire, 2nd rank fire. Heavily dug in guard, unleashed flashes of blast cannons and auto cannons across the board, and ultimately, with help from one of the tanks, managed to blow all the tactical marines and one of the company vets here, and the final one had to be finished off with a stern bayonet charge from the Mordians, but they have exposed themselves a little bit in that charge, so, you know, swings and roundabouts. The Terminators, fortunately, because it took so much firepower to shift my attacks, have survived on full strength, so that's excellent. One of my Biles has gone down to 7 wounds. He took a heavy hit from a battle cannon to the side, and then has again been locked down by this annoying Sentinel, which I didn't manage to kill with multiple heavy bolters. Oh, actually, I didn't shoot him that much last turn because I fired my heavy bolters at your Lehman Russ in desperation.
Yeah.
So then he sprayed with all these guys into my dread, apart from one squad which shot at my captain. My captain got 3 wands, but then he got feel no pain, so he's on 2 wounds. The dread's taken 7 wounds, but he again lives. The charge is going to be tricky with Overwatch. This guy fired into the dread as well to try and pick up his last wound, but he lived. So Blood Angels turn 3, they've managed to eat into the guard mechanised force significantly, and there are no longer any tanks. So shooting wise, those guys, he popped heavy bolters into the sentinel and killed him, and he popped his 2 last cannons into the Lumen Rust that was on 1 wound and blew him up, but he didn't explode. The other guy shot his last cannons into the Lumen Rust that was here, softening him up. That guy already had Wings of Sanguinis because it lasts until the next psychic phase. He's been moving 12 inches a turn because I've been focusing on getting that psychic power even with the command roll, because it just makes him so mobile. And with clever placement, obviously, you can avoid him getting shot for a couple of turns, so that's been working really well. So then those 2 were positioned for a charge, Sanguinis as well, or the Red Baron as I call him. The Tactical Marines moved up to next to the tanks and sprayed into the veterans that were there, and then they were supported by some heavy bolter fire, and those veterans had just really got eaten into by those heavy bolters and lost about 4 guys. It was quite significant. Of course, that Baal couldn't shoot. That Baal used his heavy bolter to put a wound on the sentinel before it was blown up, just picking away with those heavy bolters. 1 wound at a burst. I'm happy with that, even though it's doesn't sound significant. It does the job. And then he fired into these guys, but Tim spent his command points, so they only lost 4, I believe. Then in the charge phase, these guys charged in. The Tech Marine charged into the officer that was there, beat him to death. The officer did interrupt, but didn't do anything. The Tech Marines just beat the remaining 2 veterans with plasma to death that were there. Sanguinis struck the tank and just actually blew him up before I had to do anything with the librarian, so he just consolidated into that squad, who failed to do any wounds with their bayonets against him, which is lucky. He's on 1 wound, so he's just still pushing forward. If only he had some kind of magical Tech Marine that could be next to him and heal him, but it's not going to happen. And the captain also just one-shotted the engine seer. The engine seer just bam, dead. And he did that as the first strike because I knew that engine seer was the main threat with his power axe to an interrupt, so it made Tim's interrupt less powerful. Tim is now on only 12 command points. In this turn, he's actually spent the first 3 command points because
keep getting them back.
He keeps getting them back, and at some points he's been on more than 15 command points. So yeah, pretty good. But yeah, Blood Angels hitting into those lines. It's a really good game. Let's see what happens. I also have this super secret unit of assault marines hidden here near this objective. Don't tell Tim. So for guard turn 4, the Mordians continue to blitz away from their fixed positions. It's just super fluffy, this game, isn't it? You can't just help but enjoy the deliciousness that is the Mordians doing what they want to do and what they're supposed to do. But I am feeling a relief in the pressure that is on me, because when you get a few units into combat with your guard, they're having to spend their orders on get back in the fights. They're not using first rank fire, second rank fire and that kind of thing, and honestly you just instantly notice the difference. That's why it's always good to just be keeping the pressure on the guard. So because obviously these guys, even though they killed the tank, they locked those guards, so the guard only got a normal shooting phase against them and so on and so forth. The result of this ultimately is that he didn't end up taking any wounds from the heavy weapons over here. The Termes lost a guy and a half. The Dreadnought here got pranged by an overcharged plasma ultimately. Yeah. Oh no, was it?
It was.
Oh yeah, and then this guy took everything else on the chin, loads of heavy weapons and that kind of thing, but ultimately my warlord was slain by the mighty Laskan. Billions, countless Laskans have been issued across the aeons in the Imperium, and countless Laskans will continue to fell the great heroes of the Imperium and the enemies of the Imperium. So Really, really exciting turn. Oh, and finally this guy just hovered around and just went and just
One thing I want to say is I didn't really fully appreciate the roving gunship rule, because normally when he's on his last bracket and he's flying and he moves, it's -1 to hit, so he can't use heavy bolters. But because of roving gunship, he gets +1, so he still gets to hit on 6s, even when he moves his heavy weapons.
And
that made all the difference. That went from killing 1 Marine to killing 2 Marines.
Yeah,
so it makes such a big difference.
And Tim is saying, like, he's really thinking about starting to take 2 Valkyries, and many years ago I bought him both of his Valkyries for Barry's birthday and Christmas, and now I am regretting that many years later. But yeah, really good game. Let's see what the Blood Angels can do turn 4 with these balls that have not been locked because these guys couldn't charge them. Yay. And I'm going to spray into them whilst they're in the open and hopefully just, you know, saving Private Ryan's scene with the flat gun when they're clambering over the tiger. Let's see what happens. So, the accursed Valkyrie still hovers audaciously above the Blood Angels lines. 4 last cannons were fired at him this turn, but I either missed, or I failed to wound, or Tim saved it. So, you know, that Valkyrie is just... If you're a Guard player and you're watching this and you're thinking, might try out a Valkyrie, definitely try out a Valkyrie. He also survived a spray from over here, from these guys, just 8 shots, bolters, and a little burst from this guy. In other news though, the main sort of push that I described earlier, the Bals opened up with all their assault cannons, all their heavy bolters. Tim spent the command points to go to ground, which really helped. Yeah. With that AP -1 on all my weapons, it just chewed through handfuls of Guard, and I think he had about 10 left before when all the dust had settled, so killed about 15, 16 Guardsmen, maybe a couple more. And that was, of course, with a little help because these guys actually fired their heavy bolters across because Tim was keeping a couple of models on the objective and near the objective, and that meant that they were just in range and I could see them. So I just sprayed all my heavy bolters, killed off a load of Guardsmen, and charged in with these guys, and killed a few more. He interrupted with his officer, struck at the Termes trying to finish off that Termes on 1 wound, but didn't matter, and then the Termes just overkill, just everything dead, because those, you know, heavy weapons bases, they are good, but then when you're down to your last few models and the Termes just, I mean, obviously that's not a tactic you should try and employ and like focus your Termes on heavy weapons teams necessarily, but it's a fortunate turn of events that the last couple of models just got hammered to death. So that was nice. So these proud Mordians are standing gallantly on the gantry, looking down at the Blood Angels, spraying their las guns in. That heavy bolter's going to open up in a little bit. The centre of the Guard line still holds strong, barely impacted. And the right has taken a bit of damage, but again, it's 2 squads, 1 of 10, 1 of 11 with merging. I forgot to say earlier that this big squad, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but Tim had merged it over 2 turns with 2 command points, so it was 1 big block of 30 to make the most of his command points. And the Termes also killed off the officer down there as well this combat.
Normally you wouldn't merge 30 Guardsmen because it's very susceptible to battle shock, but I had a lot of command points and also I only had 1 junior officer, so I had 1 order. So I wanted to be able to order as many units as possible, so I just merged 30 guys together.
Yeah, sometimes it makes sense to do it, you know, in the circumstances. That's why, you know, those options are there. That's one of the strengths of the Guards. You've just got so many options. You're flexible to absolutely any situation. The Blood Angels, you know, staying strong. They've still got that heavy armour on the field. Guardsmen are looking hard pressed, but they are dug in. Let's see what the Guard can do in their turn 5. I sense... I may hear, what's that on the wind? Move. Maybe. Just carrying across on the wind across to my lines. Let's see what happens. So, Guard, turn 5, could be their last turn. Epic turn from the Guard. Really, really epic. It's just been an epic game all the way through. Just crazy dice rolls. You literally don't know what's going to happen. Just guns blasting off everywhere. So, basically... Tim spammed off a few shots here and there, but basically failed to do anything. These guys shot down into the assault marines, but failed to do anything. And then finally, this squad here and this squad here, who have been absolute hero squads all game. Basically, these 2 squads have been getting all the hits, all the damage. Like, really, really, really good. They first of all sprayed into the assault marines, killed 4 of them. Then this squad charged the Baal. He got literally no hits out of 18 shots, and then Tim rolled, failed his charge. He had a 2, needed a 6 on the reroll. He decided to command point because obviously he's been rolling in command point. He's still got 6 now, and he got that 6. That Commissar face came up on the Mordian glory dice, and he got in. So he stopped that Baal, and as it's turn 5, that was really good because obviously, as he said, if the game ends now, they're not doing anything if they're stood there, so you may as well go for it. And then he charged with this squad heroically into my final assault marine, beat him to death, but my chaplain heroically intervened and likewise beat 3 guardsmen to death.
Just goes over, you're going to use a command point, so there you take the morale test on D3, and do I get it back? No. Just because otherwise I'd have to take a proper morale check, and then over here I shot you tactical wounds.
Okay. Yeah, and over here, this guy, as usual, he healed a wound, so he's back onto 3 wounds, just sprayed into the tactical marines, killed 3 of them. I got 3 ones on my armour save, but you know, he's just getting hits. Those door gunners are absolutely incredible. It's like Vietnam. And then these guys, they shot after advancing and finished off the last assault marine. These guys just basically bounced off the tank or something like that. They didn't do anything very effective. So that was that. So it is now down to Blood Angels turn 5. We've got a Baal, we've got a few Termes. Oh, one thing to say, the Preaching Commissar over here spammed off a bolter shot and just clipped one of these Termes, the one who's on 1 wound. So that was obviously epic as usual, calling in, invoking the Emperor's name, or probably one of the Chaos Gods, because Tim's clearly a heretic with the dicey rolls. Right, turn 5, Blood Angels, let's see what happens. So in the Blood Angels turn 5, this guy turned his assault cannon on here, sprayed his heavy bolts in as well, killed most of them. This guy obviously couldn't shoot, but he backed out of combat and sat on that objective. The Terminators killed those guardsmen. The chaplain didn't need to do anything, they just beat them to death. And then over here I fired another 4 last cannons at this Valkyrie, but it just survived everything. It's just incredible. Just ridiculous and just impressive, do you know what I mean? I'm not even mad. And then the heavy bolters also sprayed at the one. The heavy bolter sprayed at the Valkyrie. One could see some of the guys over there before they were killed. So he killed 1 guardsman, and this guy just failed to do any. Oh, did he do 1 wound? He did 1 wound with his heavy bolters to the Valkyries. So we're going to see if the game continues. And it does not on a 2. So let's have a look at the points. So the Guard have these valiant Mordians who have sat proudly on this objective all game and fought off all attackers for 3 points. The amazing Valkyrie has stood on overwatch over this objective for the past 2 or 3 turns, massacring any OBSEC troops who dared to come forth, just spraying down, and that's another 3 points, that's 6 points. And they also have First Blood and Warlord, and they've killed 1 of my heavy support. Yeah. So that's an additional 3 points.
For 9 points.
For 9 points, because it is Big Guns Never Tire. And then I have, with these guys, secured that objective for 3 points. He's sat on an objective for 3 points, that's 6 points. I have Lime Breaker, makes 7. And then I have 4 heavy supports, which make 11 points. So all in all, it is 9-11. 9-11 to the Blood Angels. So somehow, an amazing Blood Angels victory. Tim just absolutely fought tooth and nail there. I absolutely did not think I was going to win until I just got really lucky on the last 2 turns. Nothing pulled it back basically. Terrible luck first 2 turns, thought I was going to lose. Great luck last 2 turns, pulled it back. Tim just all the way through, consistently just plodding away because he's got that volume of dice rolls, that sort of bad luck and good luck disappears into the mix really, because how many auto cannons do you have?
In this army, 7.
So 7 auto cannons, most of them, just sometimes rerolling 1s depending. Auto cannons in Guard squads are really, really good.
I think what it came down to, if you don't mind me.
Yeah, I mean, it's final discussion.
I focused a little bit too much. The first few turns of the games I was tying up your Baals, which
needed to be done because we saw they all killed 20 guards.
But that's the thing, it sort of lured me into a false sense of security because I didn't really I hadn't been eating that firepower. So I didn't really shoot them with my anti-tank when I could. And likewise, when I killed your first predator and then afterwards your predators were sort of struggling again.
Because I was rolling bad dice, they weren't doing anything.
Yeah, but then you had a really good turn where you just eliminated pretty much all my support, and then it came down to the poor bloody infantry. And then what really happened, I got rid of all your OBSEC, but then you still had damage dealers left, and you've got to remember these aren't pure anti-tank. They've got heavy bolters as well.
And I just swear by like mass heavy bolter
So when
support.
you think about it, when your opponent has eliminated all your heavy armour, and when you finally dish down to your infantry, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heavy bolters plus the equivalent of 4 assault cannons, you can just chew through you very quickly. And like as Johnny said, the example here is I went from being totally in control with a 30-man blob plus a 10-man squad to nothing in one turn.
Yeah.
And so that's just
that wasn't even a hot round of shooting for the bolts. They just hit an average, 9 hits from the assault cannons, that kind of thing.
That just shows the power of the Blood Angels, how they can go from just having, just struggling to if they get everything set up just right, then like a house of cards, it just all comes down and just crushes everything in front of them.
And that's it. So 2 very different ways of operating, and sort of 50-50 which way it comes out. It just depends. But yeah, victory for the Blood Angels. It's a good one.
Really good, really good.
Thank you very much, Tim, for putting. This was a very long battle report. We spent a lot of time on it, and really appreciating you taking the time. So thank you very much. Good game.